Welcome back. Today we are going to start a fun little project, Christmas quilt, because it's almost that time of year. So we're going to start off by reviewing what we've already learned, which was the 9-patch and the strip blocks. So today we're going to learn how to put these two together and we're going to come up with a quilt. So the fabrics I have selected for our Christmas quilt are these three right here. I've already got them ironed out and laid out, ready to go. I have taken the liberty to scribble out a bunch of stuff that we may need later, so I can kind of plan it out and maybe not be quite so chaotic. So the first thing we're going to do, so we're going to do a 9-patch and a plain block. For the plain block, we're going to do our little gingerbread guys over here. For the 9-patch, we're going to do the red and the green fabrics. So, on my cute little sheet that I've done here, I have just scribbled out a small little size for us and kind of drew it out. Most fabrics are 42 to 44 inches wide, and that's helpful if you're trying to plan how much fabric you need. Or if you're like me, you just wing it and keep finding fabrics to add to it. You know, that works too. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 9-inch blocks. So when we cut, we're going to actually have to do 9.5 and make before we sew all our blocks together. We're going to have to make sure they're 9.5. So the next thing that we're going to do is, well, let's just start off with the 9.5-inch blocks, and I'll try not to get ahead of myself here. So first thing we need to do, I already have it folded in half and have my edges almost together here. Just like me, almost together. So I'm going to fold it into fours, like we did before. It's a nice long piece of fabric because I got too much cut. I always like to have excess, and this was a total, but it's okay. All right, so we're gonna come over here, line up our edges, just like we did on our other blocks, only this time, because it is so much bigger than even my little square here, this is a 8.5 inch square, and we're gonna need 9.5. Obviously 8.5 is smaller than 9.5, so now we're gonna use our little grid cutter here in just a second. So we're just gonna line it up somewhere out here. Looks like over here it says 6, and we need 9.5. So we come down here to the 15 and the 15.5. We're gonna take our nice long ruler, line it up on the 15.5 over here, and its matching side over here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. Sometimes I double check myself because I can't always do math. And then we're going to cut. Set that aside for a second. Come over here. And it's okay if we don't do this exact right here, because we're just cutting off this selvage edge so we have a nice straight line to work off of. And 3 nice square edges. So we're going to come over here, line it up. Actually, we're going to line it up here. It might be easier. We're going to line it up down here, and we're going to line up our white lines here and our white lines here. 2 corners with a 90-degree angle is fine. So then we're going to come over here and we're going to go make sure we have 9.5 up this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5 is going to be up here. So we're going to line up our corners on the half and the half, and we're going to zip. And my blade needs to be cut. Changed out. This is something you don't necessarily want to do. So these pieces we're just going to toss. But now we have our first stack of 4 blocks here. And in my little diagram thing, it shows that I'm going to need 15. So then we're going to cut 3 more of the same way. That way we're going to end up with 16 blocks, just to make it simple because we're doing stacks of 4. So we're going to set these over here, come back over here, get our edge that we just lined up nice and neat a few minutes ago back up here, and line up this edge the best we can, and this edge up here, and come back for another 9.5 inch business here. All right, now that we've got our stack of 15, actually there's going to be 16, we're going to come over here and do our strips. Why? Because if you look carefully, this is nothing but strips. So we're going to do 2 like this, 1 like this. So according to my little doodled chart here, we're going to need 18 of the top and bottom, 18 patches, sorry. And then because of the length of everything, we're going to need about 3 to 4 strips of the top and bottom, and then 2. So it's going to be a total, well, I'm probably going to do 6 strips just to make it safe. Especially because my red has a little chunk cut out of it. So I'm going to fold my fabric into 4s. Maybe it's super long and it's stuck all over. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm not gonna worry about this corner. It'll adjust itself eventually. So we're gonna come over here. I can make a nice, neat line. And we're going to do 3.5 inch strips. So I'm gonna break out this ruler because it's actually long enough. So we're going to line up, because if we do 3.5 inch strips and we're trying to cut it down to a 9 inch block, we have to cut off the quarters somewhere. Okay, 1, 2, 3.5, and we're gonna do about 5 or 6 strips this way. Just put them up there. Okay, so now that we have our 6 strips, which I think is going to be probably too many, because I don't even know how to read my own writing here and my own math that I did beforehand, but that's okay. It's not like I won't use them. We're gonna put those aside, and I think these are the ones I'm gonna use for the red. Is gonna be my gold today, okay? And then my green is gonna be my nice little autumn leaves. So we're gonna come over here to our green fabric, and we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did to the red, only we're probably going to only cut probably 2 strips of this, and then we're going to see how far we get. And if we need to cut more, you know, it's easier to cut more rather than have a bazillion strips laying around, because I'm pretty good at over cutting. Sometimes I undercut, but yeah, you know, whatever. It's okay. You can always find little projects and things for them. So we're going to do our 3.5 inch strip here. And let's see, we need 1 more, maybe. Let's see. All right, we're just going to go 2 like that. All right, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to start piecing our strips together. So what we're wanting to do, actually, I think I'm going to do 1 more of these because I don't trust my own math. Obviously, math is not my strong point. It doesn't have to be your strong point either to be a quilter. As long as you can reason it out eventually, you'll be fine. Okay. 1 more, just, you know, like spankings, 1 to grow on, right? For birthdays? Okay. So what we're going to do here is this is going to be our red. This one's going to be our green. This one's going to be our red. All right. So we're going to do 2 strips like this. This top and the bottom. All right. And our other strip, we're going to do like this. Are you catching on to what I'm doing now? So we're going to have one strip like this, two strips like the top and bottom since they're identical. All right, now that we have a couple of sets of our red and green strips sewed together, we're going to iron them out like we were shown before, where we open up the strips and iron them flat on both sides so we can get ready to cut. All right, now that we have everything nice and ironed out flat, we need to cut our strips now that we have made them. I've laid all of my strips out here. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to start by cutting off our edges, and even with our edges we're going to make sure everything's kind of in line here on some lines. Cut off our little edge. And so what do we need to measure it if we've got 3.5 inch strips here to be able to make our blocks? It's going to be 3.5 inches because these are our blocks that are already sewed together. So here we're going to go 3.5. We're going to line up our edges wherever we can, mainly right here. And we're going to come down here. All right, look at that. We've already got 1/3 of our block made. So then we're going to come down here, do the same thing. And we're going to go down this whole strip doing this right here, lining up 3.5 inches and cutting it so. Let me flip over here real fast to give you a little better idea. All right, so here we're going to have this one, and this one. See how easy that is when you do it in strips? Feels like it's that much faster, whether it is or not. I guess one of these days I'll time myself and figure out if it's easier to piece them all or if it's easier to do strips. My bet's going to be it's easier to do strips and cut them up into these little blocks. All right, now that we have all of our strips cut out to where we have our 3 sections, we're going to put them in together like we did before, like we had just made the blocks instead of doing the strips. So we're going to line our seams up, stick a pin here, stick a pin there, run it through the machine with our 1/4 inch seam. And we're almost there. We have the reds here, the greens here, so our next one is going to go on the bottom. Line up our seams. And here we are. We have our first block done. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go through these whole stacks and we're going to put all of those together, and then we're going to iron them out into a nice neat stack of freshly ironed blocks.